Ever wonder who's out there making the world go round? It's truckers. Who unites baristas with coffee beans? Truckers. Who unites dogs with their favorite chew toy? Truckers. That's why Progressive offers truckers even more protection with Cargo Plus coverage to keep truckers moving right along. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. Not yet available in California, New York, and Virginia.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey, it's Jillian. One of my favorite things about doing this show is hearing from you. And one question I get asked is, which episode should I go back and listen to? So we're making it easy. Every other week, we're re-releasing a fan favorite, an episode from the archive that listeners keep coming back to. This is one of them. Enjoy. Hey everyone, this is Jillian, and you are listening to episode 28 of the Court Junkie podcast. Thanks for tuning in. On today's show, we're going to get into a mass shooting hate crime that occurred in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015. Dylann Roof's federal trial just ended a few months ago, but I wanted to go back and take a look at how this case first started, and more importantly, why it started in the first place. But first, thanks for all of your support. Please be sure to share this podcast with your friends if you like it, and please consider joining our Facebook discussion group, where there are now over 3,000 court junkies who love talking about criminal court cases. This week, the hot topics were the war machine sentencing, why women tend to be drawn to true crime a little more than men are, and the Michelle Carter case, which I will have an episode on coming very soon. You can also follow me on Twitter at CourtJunkiePod, on Instagram at CourtJunkie, and you can email me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. Now, let's get into today's episode. The case I'm about to go into today is nothing short of tragic and horrible. But aside from talking about the evil that occurred on the night of June 17th, 2015, I want to highlight the courage and strength that came from the victims, their families, and the community. Because after the darkness, there is often light. On June 18th, 2015, at 1:39 p.m., two FBI agents, Michael Stansberry and Craig Janichowski, walked a 21-year-old male into their interrogation room. They sat down across from him and showed him their FBI badges, so the man would know that they were, in fact, FBI agents. They read him his rights and gave him a form to sign, waiving his right to an attorney, which the man did. The agents then began questioning the man, who had signed his name as Dylann Roof. He said he was born and raised in South Carolina, that he dropped out of high school but earned his GED. He told the agents that he was currently unemployed and living with his mom and her boyfriend in Columbia, South Carolina for most of the time, but also staying at his father's house too. After the polite chit-chat, Agent Stansberry brought up the reason they were sitting in that room.
Can you tell us about what happened last night?
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, I went to that church in Charleston, and, I did it.
Who did what? Well, I mean, I know it's tough sometimes to say.
It's not that I don't want to say it because I don't want to make myself seem guilty. I just don't really like saying it.
But I know sometimes we have to face those things, the realities.
We don't want to put any words in your mouth. That's why.
Right.
That's why Agent Stansbury just was asking you what it exactly is that you did do.
Well, I did. I killed him. Oh, well, I guess. I mean, I don't really know.
Well,
I don't know how many people or anything like that.
So did you shoot him?
Yes.
What kind of gun did you use?
A Glock 45.
Okay. Was that your gun or?
Yes, I bought it from the gun store.
Which gun store did you buy that from?
Shooter's Choice.
Shoot in West Columbia, Shooter's Choice.
Well, it's in Columbia. I'm not sure what.
Swift. But the one, they got the indoor gun range there.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I've never used it. But yes, they have one. I think.
Okay, so it's a
How long ago did you purchase that the weapon?
It's July.
Yeah.
July.
No, it's June. We're
It's June
June
right
right
now.
now.
It's June.
Oh, it's June. Okay. Probably like 2 months ago.
About 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So you just turned 21, right?
Right.
So it was like it was for your birthday or?
No, I bought it when I turned 21.
Yeah. That's right. So all right. So going back to the church, you pulled out the gun and you shot him, started shooting people, or how? I mean, how?
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, so do you know how many people you shot?
If I was gonna guess, five, maybe. I'm really not sure exactly.
You just started. Well,
4, 5. I'm not sure.
did you say anything to him before or after or during?
No, I didn't say anything to them before anything.
Before. What about after?
Well, I think like during I said like don't talk to me or something like that. You know.
Like while you were shooting?
Well, they're like in the middle. You know. But I didn't really talk to them.
Okay.
How long were you at the church before you actually before you pulled your weapon out? You said yourself you shot, you think, maybe 5 or so people. How long were you at the church before you decided that you were going to do that?
Well, I just went in the church, you know, and then I sat down with them for like maybe 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Could have been 20. It could have been 10, but I think it was probably around 15.
Were they having a meeting or something? Or?
No. This was a Bible study class.
So you knew the Bible study class was going to happen?
Yes, because I had went there before and asked them.
Okay, so you've been to the church before?
Well, not in it.
But outside and said, when do you have Bible study? Or?
Well, yeah, I just saw somebody get into their car and I asked them.
When was that?
Oh, that was like, oh, God. That was probably, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Well,
That's a long time.
right before, or when you pulled out your gun and started to shoot, or right before, did you remember what you said, or if you said anything to the people when you pulled? Because I mean,
Oh, no, I
if
didn't
you suddenly pulled out a gun and I'm like,
Right, that's what I did. I didn't say anything to them before I pulled it out.
did they?
Not even one word. I didn't say anything to them.
Did they see or anybody react to you as you pulled the gun out, or were you already shooting before they knew what was happening?
I mean, they reacted after I shot.
Right, we understand.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess my question, and it might have been a bad question. I was just trying to figure out, if I suddenly found a gun, if I pulled a gun out and everybody saw it, people might start to run or
Oh,
whatever.
no. It was very fast. It was not like I was like, it was like quick motion.
So can you show what were you sitting down and you did it, or did you stand up, or what?
Yeah, I was sitting down the first.
Can you show me like what you did? I mean,
Yeah, it was just like,
did you like this, or just and just started shooting at people?
Dylann demonstrated pulling up a gun from his pants and then shooting it, using his hands to show the agent what he did, just less than 24 hours earlier. At around 8:15 p.m. the night before, Dylann Roof parked his car in the parking lot of Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Mother Emanuel was a historic African Methodist Episcopal church, the oldest one in the South, founded in 1816. To say the church had a lot of history behind it would be an understatement. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke there in 1962, and it had even burned to the ground at one point, but was rebuilt. With a loaded Glock 45 and 7 magazines, each with 11 bullets, Dylann calmly walked through the parking lot and up to the door of the old historic church. He opened it and slipped inside, seemingly not noticing, or perhaps not caring, about the video surveillance system that was capturing his movements. Inside the church was the weekly Bible study, where 12 of the church's members were gathered, as they normally did each week, to read scripture and pray together. Tonight was a special night for 59-year-old Myra Thompson, as she would be leading the Bible study for the first time. The group noticed the young man walk in to join them and saw the pastor welcome him, hand him a piece of paper, and make sure he had a chair to sit down in. Polly Shepard was seated towards the back. She hadn't been planning on attending the Bible study that night, but her friend Myra had asked her to stay. And while she was purposely sitting near the back in the hopes that she could sneak out, Myra kept looking back at her to make sure that she was still there. About 45 minutes went by, and then the group stood up for their final prayer, closing their eyes as they did so, not noticing that the young man who had joined them had remained seated and instead was pulling out a gun. Shots rang out as the man began shooting at them, over and over again. Felicia Sanders dove under a table and grabbed her 11-year-old granddaughter with her, holding her tightly to her chest. She saw her son, 26-year-old Tawanza Sanders, get shot multiple times. Polly Shepard had also dove underneath a table as the shooting started. She started praying, and the man walked over to her and told her to shut up and asked her, "Did I shoot you yet?" Polly said no, and the man told her, "I'm not going to. I'm going to leave you here to tell the story." The man then calmly walked out of the church, the same way he had walked in.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Please, Emanuel Church is plenty people shot down here. Please send somebody right away.
Emanuel Church?
Emanuel AME 110 Calhoun.
And there's people shot?
Yeah, he shot the pastor. He shot all the men in the church. Please come right away.
The caller was Polly Shepard, and she was still hiding underneath the table after witnessing her friends in the Bible study get shot.
Did you see him at all?
Yes, he's a young 21-year-old white dude.
Police arrived at the scene after getting the call that there was an active shooter at the Mother Emanuel Church. They set up a perimeter and then went inside the building. The scene inside was devastating. There were 8 deceased victims and a 9th who was immediately transported to the hospital, but who would pass away shortly thereafter. And there were 3 survivors: Felicia, Polly, and Felicia's 11-year-old granddaughter. By the time police arrived at the scene and had set up their perimeter, the shooter was already long gone. They examined the surveillance tape and pulled still images of the young man with a distinct bowl haircut and wearing jeans and a gray long-sleeved shirt. They put the images out to the media, and the manhunt for the suspect began. Law enforcement held a press conference later that night, calling it a hate crime.
Do you believe this was a hate crime?
I do believe this was a hate crime.
Is that why the FBI is here? Is it being investigated as a hate crime?
It will be investigated as a hate crime, but the FBI would be here regardless because of the size and scope of the investigation, and they're our partners, and they would be here to help us regardless, but they're here for that specific person also.
The only reason someone could walk into church and shoot people praying is out of hate. The only reason. That it is the most dastardly act that one can possibly imagine. And we will bring that person to justice as soon as possible.
Tips started pouring in through the police tip line, and it wasn't long before they had a name to match the image of the young man on their surveillance video. 21-year-old Dylann Roof was the man they were looking for. While law enforcement was hunting for Dylann Roof, the Charleston community was devastated, trying to make sense out of what had just happened and why. The community was mourning the 9 victims: 41-year-old Reverend Clementa Pinkney, 54-year-old Cynthia Hurd, 45-year-old Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, 26-year-old Tawanza Sanders, 70-year-old Ethel Lance, 87-year-old Susie Jackson, 49-year-old DePayne Middleton Doctor, 74-year-old Reverend Daniel Simmons, and 59-year-old Myra Thompson. The next morning, 13 hours after the killings, a call came into the Shelby, North Carolina Police Department. Dylann Roof had been spotted.
Advised the suspect looks like the subject they're talking about on the news from that Charleston shooting. Said that he has a bowl haircut, white male, appears to be the vehicle they see on TV.
Sure enough, it was him. Police pulled the car over, and Dylann was put into handcuffs and arrested without incident. Back in the interrogation room, Dylann talked about his capture.
When they stopped you, were you driving or were you?
Yeah, I was driving.
And so they pulled you over? What'd you think? What went through your head?
Oh, well, I knew they were going to get me eventually anyway.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for them.
Where was the gun? I mean, did you think,
No, the gun was in the back seat. Oh, no.
By that time you said, I guess I'm not going to have to kill myself, right?
Well, right, I had already decided that it's just a bad idea.
Yeah. Did you, when the policeman pulled you over, and obviously you didn't want to do it, I mean, you had decided, all right, I'm just going to give up at that point. Okay. Did you say anything to the policeman when he pulled you over and he walked up to the car?
Oh, no, I didn't say anything. Just, told him to put my hands on the wheel, and that's it.
He didn't tell you why he was stopping you? I mean, you knew, right?
He was stopping me.
Yeah. But did you tell him I did it, or do you remember saying anything like that?
No, I didn't say anything like that. They just said, are you connected to what happened? I think something like that. I just said yes.
Okay. And then you told him, I think you said you told him the gun's in the car?
Right. They said, is there anything in the car? And then I said, yeah, the gun's on the back seat.
As Dylann was talking to the FBI agents, he told them that the victims had welcomed him into their Bible study, handing him some paper and making sure that he had a seat at the table with them.
When you first walked in and they were having a Bible study, did anybody even acknowledge you or say anything or say,
Yeah, they did. They gave me a sheet.
So they welcomed you. These people did.
Right, but I didn't. Like I said, I didn't say anything to them. They just handed me the sheet, pretty much. There wasn't that many people there. There was only like 8 people there.
So when you walked in, there were 8 people. Was it in the main sanctuary? Was it in what do you recall when you walked in? There were 8 people. Where were they all positioned? Were they
just around like tables?
Around tables?
Yeah, it wasn't in the sanctuary.
Okay, so it was around tables. And where did you position yourself? Were you in front of them? In the midst of them? Were you in back of them? To the side of them? Do you recall?
Well, there's like a table here and a table here, and I was sitting like here.
So why kill these kind, welcoming people? His answer was chilling.
Why did you have to do it?
Oh, I had to do it.
How come? I mean, that's what I don't know.
Well, I had to do it because somebody had to do something. Because, black people are killing white people every day on the streets. And they rape white women, 100 white women a day. That's an FBI statistic from 2005. You know, that's 10 years ago. It might even be more now, who knows. It sounds unrealistic, but you break it down, that's 2 a state. It's really not unrealistic at all. It could not be more. You know, the fact of the matter is, what I did is so minuscule to what they're doing to white people every day, all the time. And just because that doesn't get on the news doesn't mean it's not happening. You know, everybody knows that the news is biased for black people. You know, we can pretend it's not, but we know it is.
Dylan, when you said you had to do this, so basically what you're...
I had to do it because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is brave enough to do anything about it. You know, back in the late 80s and the early 90s, you know, we had skinheads and stuff like that. There's no skinheads left. There's no KKK. KKK never did anything anyway.
So basically, you were trying to make a statement or prove a point on behalf of the white race. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in a way, I guess.
A day after his capture, on June 19th, 2015, Dylann appeared in bond court wearing a gray and white striped prison jumpsuit and shackles. The judge, clearly upset, reminded the courtroom that there was no shortage of victims in this case.
This is the case of State versus Dylann Roof. Mr. Roof is charged with 9 counts of murder and 1 count of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into the hearing, I'd like to make a statement, please. Charleston is a very strong community. We have big hearts. We're a very loving community. And we are going to reach out to everyone, all victims, and we will touch them. We have victims, 9 of them. But we also have victims on the other side. There are victims on this young man's side of the family. Nobody would have ever thrown them into the whirlwind of events that they are being thrown into. We must find it in our heart at some point in time, not only to help those that are victims, but to also help his family as well. When it's all done and said, Scarlett Wilson, the solicitor, and Ashley Pennington will have done the best job that they can do. They're some of the finest. Our law enforcement are the finest in this state, and they will do their job honorably. I trust they will. With that being said, we will move forward today with this hearing.
The victims' families were given the opportunity to speak. One of the victims' daughters got up and spoke to Dylann in court. 70-year-old Ethel Lance's daughter, through tears, told him that she forgives him, even though she will never be able to hug her mother again. 49-year-old Myra Thompson's husband also told him that he forgives him, and he implored him to give his life to Christ, telling him he'll be better off than where he is now. Felicia Sanders, survivor of the attack, and also the mother of 26-year-old Tawanza Sanders, who had lost his life in the shooting, told Dylann that they had welcomed him with open arms and that he has killed the most beautiful people she has ever known. She called her son her hero and said, "May God have mercy on you." Alana Simmons spoke on behalf of her grandfather, 74-year-old Reverend Daniel Simmons. She told Dylann that everyone's plea for his soul is proof that they lived their lives in love, and so will their legacies. Hate won't win, she said. 49-year-old DePayne Middleton doctor's sister echoed that hate won't win. She said she's very angry, but that her sister taught her that there's no room for hate and that they have to forgive. Dylann was ultimately denied bond. The 9 victims were then laid to rest, while the community and the world mourned along with their loved ones. And on June 22nd, 2015, just 5 days after the murders, Mother Emanuel reopened and held a church service as a tribute to the victims. As the trial approached, more information started to come out about Dylann Roof and his contacts with police prior to June 17, 2015. According to an incident report from the Columbia Police Department, on February 28, 2015, Dylann was apprehended at the Columbiana Center in the outskirts of Columbia, South Carolina. The officer who handled the case wrote, in part, "I received a complaint from mall security stating that a white male wearing all black was going into the shoe department store and Bath and Body Works and asking the employees out of the ordinary questions. The employees said that the subject was asking them how many associates were working, what time they closed, and what time they leave. The officer said the man told him that his name was Dylann Roof and he was acting very nervous. When the officer asked why he had been asking the employees those questions, Dylann told him that his parents had been pressuring him to get a job. But when the officer asked if he had asked for any job applications, he said no. The officer conducted a search and found Suboxone, a prescription drug used to treat drug addiction, and Dylann didn't have a prescription. He was arrested, charged with drug possession, and banned from the mall for a year. But he showed up again a couple months later, towards the end of April, and was arrested and charged with trespassing. He was ordered to pay a $262 fine. But one question that's hard to shake is, what exactly was he really doing at that mall? Dylann Roof was facing extraordinary circumstances within the United States legal system. Not only was he being charged with multiple counts of murder at the state level, but the United States Attorney General at the time, Loretta Lynch, decided to also charge him with hate crimes, since South Carolina doesn't have a hate crime statute. This would mean that Dylann was facing the death penalty twice, in his state trial as well as in his federal trial. Dylann Roof pleaded not guilty after being arraigned on 33 federal charges, which included 3 counts for each of the 9 victims and 2 counts for each of the 3 survivors. Jury selection for his federal trial started in November 2016, but was abruptly stopped by a defense motion to have Dylann analyzed by a doctor to see if he was able to understand what was going on in court. The judge ordered a competency evaluation, but jury selection resumed weeks later after Dylann was deemed competent to stand trial. On November 28, 2016, jury selection started again, but not without another surprise. The judge told the courtroom that he had received a motion from Dylann asking to represent himself. After questioning Dylann and making sure that he understood what he was doing, his request was granted. So Dylann represented himself for most of the jury selection process until he filed another motion asking that his defense team represent him going forward through the guilt phase of the trial, and then he will resume representing himself for the sentencing phase. Opening statements started on December 7, 2016. In his opening statements, Prosecutor Richardson told the jury how there was a Bible study that took place on June 17, 2015, at Mother Emanuel Church. While he was speaking, he displayed photos of the 9 victims to the jury. Richardson said that while the group of 12 joined together on that hot, muggy Wednesday night, they welcomed a 13th member, Dylann Roof. He told the jury that the group thought Dylann seemed harmless. But as the Bible study came to a close, and the 12 members stood to close their eyes and pray, it was at that moment, Richardson said, the defendant did what he had been planning to do for months. Richardson said the government will show the jury all of the choices Dylann Roof made in the months leading up to the shooting. They'll show that Dylann spent months mentally and physically preparing himself for what he had set out to do. On the night of June 17, 2015, Dylann drove from his home in Columbia, South Carolina, to Charleston. And right before he entered the church, he loaded his .45 caliber pistol. And then, while seated in the very chair that Reverend Pinckney had provided for him, Dylann pulled out his gun and shot the pastor over and over again. He then continued shooting the others, standing over each victim and shooting them repeatedly. Richardson said that one of the survivors was praying out loud as the shots continued to ring out. Dylann told her that she would be the one who would live in order to tell his story. Richardson said, "The defendant left behind a scene that nobody can fathom." Dylann then walked out of the church into the deserted parking lot and slipped away into the night. Richardson called Dylann's actions cold and calculated and said that they were the result of his perceived offenses against the white race. Dylann left behind a manifesto that he wanted everyone around the world to read. He had gone to his father's house on the afternoon of June 17th before the murders and had typed out the manifesto, which talked about white superiority. It wasn't just about the defendant's beliefs, Richardson said. It was also a call to arms. Dylann had also left behind a journal that included a part about his hope that a race war was coming. There were some white supremacy symbols also found, such as the Nazi swastika. After the murders, Dylann went on the run and was ultimately found in North Carolina on his way to Nashville, where Richardson said that he was planning on spreading his message. Richardson told the jury that Dylann admitted to the police that he was the church shooter, and he even told them how he had chosen Mother Emanuel as the church to attack. He then described in detail to police what he had done, saying that he shot victim after victim as they lay on the floor. Richardson warned the jurors that they'll be hearing some horrible details about what happened the night of June 17th. "This is going to be a long and difficult trial," he said. He asked that after all the evidence is presented, that the jury come back with a guilty verdict. Dylann's attorney, David Bruck, addressed the jury and right away said that both he and the prosecution were expecting the jurors to come back with a guilty verdict. From the penalty phase comes the sentencing phase, where the issues will be very, very broad, he said. He told them that they err in favor of life. Bruck said the jurors are going to want to understand who this person was and why on earth he would commit the crimes that he's accused of. At this point in the defense's opening statements, the prosecution objected multiple times, saying that this is the guilt phase and that Bruck was talking too much about the sentencing phase. The judge sustained all of the objections, and Bruck was forced to move on. Bruck called the prosecution's description of the crime thorough and eloquent. But, he said, if the shooting was done to further a political and ideological belief, then is it really a logical plan? Bruck acknowledged that this would be a hard trial for the jurors to sit through, noting that they're going to see violence and grief. But he said they must also go deep and ask the question of why. The hard part of the trial starts now, he concluded. Felicia Sanders, one of the survivors, was the first witness for the prosecution. Felicia said she regularly attended the Wednesday night Bible studies at Mother Emanuel. She went through the victims and told the court how she knew each one. Her son, Tawanza Sanders, and her aunt, Susie Jackson, were two of the murder victims. She said the last text message that she got from her son was, "Are we having Bible study?" She said she texted him back that they were, and so he came to the church. Felicia described the 13th person who joined them at Bible study that night. When Prosecutor Richardson asked what he looked like, she pointed at Dylann and said he looked like him. She said that at the end of Bible study, everyone stood with their eyes closed to pray, and then she heard a loud sound. She said she initially thought it was the elevator that was being worked on. She saw the man shoot Reverend Pinckney, and she screamed that he had a gun. She dove under the table, saying that there were so many shots. She grabbed her 11-year-old granddaughter, who told her that she was so scared. She told her granddaughter to be quiet and to play dead. She noted that she was holding her so tight against her body, she was afraid she might suffocate her. Felicia recalled watching her son struggle to get up and then ask Dylann why he was doing this, and then seeing Dylann shoot him again 5 more times. She gets very emotional on the stand, and Dylann, sitting at the defense table, looks down at the table, refusing to look at her. Felicia said that after Dylann left, Tawanza was screaming for Aunt Susie, that she couldn't get him to stay still. He then started asking for water and saying he couldn't breathe. Through tears, she said, "I watched my son come into this world, and I watched my son leave this world." She said she told him that she loved him and told him to lie still until the ambulance arrived, but it was too late. Tawanza died. Justin Nose, a sergeant with the Charleston Police Department, took the stand next. He said he got an active shooter call on the night of June 17th, and that when you get one of those calls, it means you get to the scene as fast as possible and make entry. When he arrived at Mother Emanuel, he set up a perimeter and called for a canine unit after he received reports that Dylann had fled out the door. When he went inside the church, he saw multiple victims on the ground and shell casings everywhere. "It was just chaos when I arrived on scene," he said. Sergeant Dan English testified that he checked the church's video surveillance system and found images of the shooter, along with the suspect's car, a black Hyundai Elantra. He told the court he made a wanted poster using those images. Surveillance video was played in court of each of the victims arriving at the church that day, and then the video showed Dylann walking out, a gun in his hand. The prosecution then presented 360-degree image scans from inside the church. The victims could be seen in the images, lying on the floor that was smeared with blood and covered with shell casings and emptied magazines. The judge warned the victims' families in the courtroom that there would be no shame in stepping out for this, but most of them remained. Brittany Burke, a former crime scene technician with the State Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, walked the jury through the images, identifying the victims and pointing out evidence. She said that the scene was indicative of someone moving while shooting and changing magazines. She said there was an overwhelming amount of evidence left at the scene, so much so that they ran out of evidence markers and had to use index cards. They worked at the scene for about 8 or 9 hours and ended up collecting 74 shell casings. A friend of Tawanza Sanders took the stand and said that Tawanza had posted a Snapchat video prior to the shooting. He saw that there was a white man in the background of the video who appeared to be the same man police were looking for in the shooting. So he took screenshots of the video and turned them over to the FBI. 2 police officers from Shelby, North Carolina, described Dylann's capture for the jury. Police got a call from someone who said they saw the suspect driving through town. Officers found the vehicle and pulled it over. Dylann didn't resist, and they took him into custody. He readily admitted to being the shooter and told them that there was a gun inside his car. We'll get to more trial testimony right after this quick break from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Truckers aren't just moving goods. They're making sure bakers get their chocolate chips and hotels get their tiny soaps. But truckers can't do this if they're not on the road. That's why Progressive has over 360 heavy truck employees to help truckers stay on time and on track. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
This podcast is sponsored by Pocket Hose.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn. Homeowners, listen up. Before Pocket Hose, garden hoses were heavy, bulky, hard to carry, and always kinking. Then Pocket Hose changed all that. It's the American invention that made watering lighter, easier, and smarter. And now, the world's #1 expanding hose has gone ballistic. Turn on the water and watch it grow from a compact hose into a full-length, powerful hose. Turn off the water and it shrinks right back down, making it easy to carry and easy to store. But now it's even better. With a tough ballistic-infused outer sleeve, a pocket pivot that helps reduce kinks at the spigot, thicker washers to help resist leaks, and UV protection to fight sun damage. And for a limited time, you'll get 2 free gifts, a 360-degree pocket pivot and a thumb drive nozzle. Just go to PocketHose.com/podcast. That's PocketHose.com/podcast for your 2 free gifts with purchase. PocketHose.com/PODCAST.
FBI agent Michael Stansberry testified about questioning Dylann after his arrest. The interrogation was played in court, and here are some portions that you haven't yet heard from that interrogation.
Do you have any remorse?
Oh, I think it's too soon.
What about regrets?
Yeah, I'd say so.
What do you regret?
Oh, it's, I regret doing it a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But part of you is glad you did it. Still, I kind of sense that from you, right? Part of you. So you're proud. Part of you.
No, because like I said, I don't really know exactly what I've done. I don't.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know how many people are killed or anything.
How many do you think anybody died?
I think.
Or do you know?
I think somebody died.
How do you know? You would know.
I don't know for sure. That's the problem.
Did you shoot anybody in the head?
No, I don't think I did.
Was it all?
Intentionally, I didn't. I intentionally didn't shoot anybody.
Were you aiming down the sights, or were you just shooting, pointing and shooting?
Right, I was just pointing, but I didn't aim anybody's head.
But getting back to his question, if I were to tell you that yes, there are dead people, do you regret that? Or mission accomplished. You said it was something you had to do. So it's kind of one or the other,
No, it isn't one or the other. It isn't.
So, but going back, your mission, your plan that you had established and decided you wanted to do, it was to kill black people. Mm-hmm. As many black people as you could in one location.
Right, well, that was the original idea, but like I said, when I got in there, it was not really about how many I could kill anymore, you see what I'm saying?
What was it about?
I don't know, it's just like, after I'd already shot people, it's like, I didn't really even feel like I needed to shoot, everybody, you see what I'm saying?
The agents then tell Dylann how many people he actually killed.
If I told you 9 people died last night, how would that make you feel?
I wouldn't believe you.
It was 9.
There wasn't even 9 people there.
It was just a little bit over 9. But it's hard when you're looking at the tables to judge people.
Because you said when you went in there, you said it could have been 6, 8. You really weren't certain.
Are you guys lying to me?
No, we're not.
How do you feel?
In all honesty.
Well, it makes me feel bad.
But also, but as Craig was saying, your mission was to kill black people. You killed 9 black people. It's tough, right? Thinking about that whole thing, when you go through, but knowing, and even before, you knew your actions were going to kill people. You said you believe at least probably one guy probably died. I think early on you said you shot 4 or 5. You thought maybe 4 or 5 people were dead. I may be misspeaking, but you knew when you left, when you were driving, before you got stopped, before you messed, you were under the assumption you killed 4 or 5 people, right?
Yes, that's true.
But your numbers were doubled. It was 9. So, you've done it. What do you think should happen to you?
how to answer that.
Well, I mean, I guess you're guilty. You wouldn't dispute that. You're guilty of killing the 9 people. Nobody else walked in there and picked up a gun was with you shooting those 9 people. Or shooting people, right? It was just Dylann Roof, right? Right. So there's nobody helped you plot. There's no co-conspirator in this case. No one put you up to this. This was your plan. You schemed it. You did it, right?
Right.
Okay, so what as a result now of done that? Someone that's killed 9 people. What do you think? If you took black or white out of the issue, or let's say that a black man walked into a church and killed 9 white people, what should happen to him?
You already know the answer. Just tell us. I mean, I can see by the look on your face you already have a thought. So what was your thought on that when he asked you?
Well, you should probably die too, I guess.
Well, and I'm not sitting there saying, oh, you think you should die, because I mean, you thought you were going to die anyway carrying out this mission. But I guess the question I'm asking, you've said it. I just wonder, are you guilty of this? Would you consider this a crime?
Yes.
And you're guilty. Say it again.
I am guilty. Okay. We all know I'm guilty.
Stansbury told the jury that the last thing he said to Dylann was that he had failed in his mission to start a race war. Brittany Burke, the former crime scene investigator with SLED, took the stand again and testified about processing Dylann's car. Prosecutors displayed photos of the inside of Dylann's car, and Burke went over the evidence found, which included a plastic bag on the floor in the back seat that contained ammunition trays and .45 caliber hollow point bullets, which matched the ones at the scene. The same shirt that had been seen in the surveillance video, with blood on it, was also located in the car, along with written notes and a journal. One of the notes read, "Dear Mom, I love you. I'm sorry for what I did, but I had to do it. This note isn't meant to be sentimental and make you cry. I just want you to know that I love you. I know that what I did will have repercussions on my whole family, and for this, I truly am sorry. At this moment, I miss you very much, and as childish as it sounds, I wish I was in your arms. I love you, Dylann." Another note read, "Dear Dad, I love you, and I am sorry. You were a good dad." The journal was also read out loud in court. Parts of it read, "I was not raised in a racist home or environment. The event that truly awakened me was the Trayvon Martin case. I kept hearing and seeing his name, and eventually I decided to look him up. I read the Wikipedia article, and right away I was unable to understand what the big deal was. It was obvious that Zimmerman was in the right, but more importantly, this prompted me to type in the words black on white crime into Google, and I have never been the same since that day." He had a section labeled Black, one for Jews and one for Hispanics, where he goes on about how all of these groups cause problems for Americans, even referring to them as enemies. He called modern American patriotism an absolute joke, saying that many veterans believe we owe them something for protecting our way of life or protecting our freedom. But I'm not sure what way of life they're talking about, he wrote. He said he doesn't blame the veterans of any wars until after Vietnam, because at least they had an America to be proud of and fight for. Under a section titled An Explanation, he wrote that he has no choice and that he chose Charleston because it's the most historic city in his state and at one time had the highest ratio of blacks to whites in the country. A .45 caliber handgun was found inside the car, along with a black glove and a torn piece of black fiber. An American flag, along with a Confederate flag, were found on the floor of the car. Several pieces of yellow notebook paper were collected and entered into evidence. One of the pieces of paper had the names, addresses, and telephone numbers of various African American churches, including Mother Emanuel, which was first on the list. A backpack, a laptop, and a suitcase with more ammunition inside were also found. The next witness for the prosecution was a man who worked at Shooter's Choice, a gun store in Columbia, South Carolina. A receipt from the store had been found in Dylann's car. Surveillance video was played for the jury. On April 11th, Dylann Roof went into the store and inquired about purchasing a Glock pistol. He filled out a questionnaire that anyone who is looking to purchase a gun needs to fill out in order to determine if they're eligible to purchase it. The process then goes like this. The seller then has to call the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, which is a part of the FBI that determines whether someone is eligible to purchase a gun. Some things they look for include prior felonies, mental health issues, and things of that nature. The FBI has 3 days to deny the sale, and if the seller doesn't hear back by the 4th day, they can go ahead with the sale. Due to a mistake on the part of the FBI, Dylann was able to purchase the gun. Typically, since he had just been arrested a couple months prior and had admitted to possessing narcotics in the police report, he should have been denied. But it turns out the FBI examiner who was doing the check reached out to the wrong police department and never got the police report. So the employee testified that 5 days later, Dylann came back in and purchased the gun. And oddly enough, 12 days after the murders, on June 29th, 2015, the store received a notification from the Criminal Background Agency that the gun sale should be denied. No reason was given. The next few witnesses testified about the evidence from the gun. A firearm investigator told the jury that all fired projectiles and casings were fired by the same .45 caliber Glock that Dylann had purchased. A forensic scientist from SLED's latent print department testified that Dylann's fingerprints were a match from prints taken from the trigger of the gun. Tracy Six, a special agent with the FBI, testified that he assisted in the investigation by preserving a website, lastrhodesian.com, that had been referenced in Dylann's journal that was found in his car. Six said that the homepage of lastrhodesian.com appeared to have a photo of a deceased body taken from a movie. There were 2 hyperlinks. One of them led to a zip file with about 60 photos, and the other pulled up a document that contained the same writings as the journal. The photos depicted Dylann in various historical places, oftentimes holding a Confederate flag or a gun. Another FBI agent examined a computer found at Dylann's father's home. The computer contained a copy of Dylann's manifesto and additional images, including one of a book cover of a book about the Ku Klux Klan. A manager from Walmart testified that receipts show that on May 3, 2015, a box of .45 caliber hollow point bullets was purchased by Dylann at a Walmart in Columbia. And on June 7, 2015, just 10 days before the attack, Dylann had gone into that same Columbia Walmart and purchased an American flag, a journal, and a pack of Sharpie pens. A corporal for the Richland County Sheriff's Department's Fugitive Task Force, Justin Britt, testified that he was dispatched to Dylann's mother's boyfriend's home in the Columbia area on June 18th, the day after the murders. Dylann and his mother lived there, along with her boyfriend. Dylann hadn't been caught yet, so the task force went to the home thinking that they may find him there. When they pulled into the driveway, a man came out from the back of the home with his hands up. He said, "He's not here," to the officers. They then went inside the home and cleared it. Britt said Dylann's mom collapsed as she was talking to them, and EMTs had to come and treat her. She recovered and was 100% cooperative with them. She told them, "I think there's something you need to see." She showed them a camera that had more photos of Dylann with the Confederate flag in front of various historical sites. In one of them, he was also holding a gun. A crime scene analyst with Richland County testified about the search of Dylann's mother's boyfriend's home. She showed the jury a number of photos that had been taken at the home. They showed boxes of ammunition sitting on a shelf and a Glock handgun on another. The analyst said that they found what they thought could have been a homemade explosive device at the home, but they determined that the materials were actually safe. They did find, however, a white pillowcase that had been cut to resemble a Ku Klux Klan hood and a notebook with hand-drawn white supremacy symbols. And lastly, a wooden board had been propped up against a tree that had been used for target practice. The prosecution entered a call log into evidence from 2 AT&T landlines. The call log showed that on February 23, 2015, at 2:45 p.m., just 4 months before the murders, a call was made from the home of Dylann's mom's boyfriend to the Mother Emanuel Church. The call lasted for 13 seconds. Joseph Hamsky, a special agent with the FBI and the lead investigator on the case, testified that a be on the lookout or BOLO alert was sent out at 6 a.m. the morning after the murders, and a phone line was set up so that people could call in with any tips. He said that numerous people called in with tips about Dylann, including Dylann's own father and sister. A former employee with the First Citizens Bank also contacted the tip line, saying that Dylann had a bank account there and frequented the branch in Columbia. Hamsky said they were able to tell that Dylann had withdrawn money from a location in Charlotte about an hour away from where he was finally arrested. He told the court that approximately 215 interviews were conducted and about 65 subpoenas and 9 search warrants were executed. Hamsky also told the jury about the GPS data they were able to retrieve from Dylann's GPS in his car. He went over the timeline of Dylann's alleged preparations and planning prior to the shootings, using the evidence they collected as well as the GPS data. In August 2014, Dylann downloaded a book about the Ku Klux Klan. From December 22, 2014, through the day of the murders, Dylann's GPS recorded more than 6 trips from Columbia to Charleston, and each time the GPS could be tracked to the vicinity of Mother Emanuel Church. On February 23, 2015, 4 months before the murders, the phone call was placed from Dylann's mother's boyfriend's home to Mother Emanuel. On March 20, 2015, a screenshot from a documentary about skinheads was uploaded to a thumb drive traced back to Dylann. On April 16th, Dylann picked up the gun that he had purchased, and a day after that, a laser sight for the gun was purchased. And on June 17th, the day of the shootings, the GPS tracked from Columbia to Charleston, the same route he had been taking for months. At 8:16 p.m., the surveillance system from Mother Emanuel shows Dylann's car pulling into the church parking lot. He enters the church immediately after he parks, and then leaves at 9:06 p.m., after about 50 minutes inside. The GPS then tracks to Charlotte at 2:15 a.m., and then finally ends up in Shelby, North Carolina, where Dylann is finally apprehended. Susan Aaron Presnell, a forensic pathologist at the Medical University of South Carolina, performed the autopsies of all 9 victims. She testified about each victim and the wounds they suffered. 45-year-old Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, 41-year-old Reverend Clementa Pinckney, and 26-year-old Tawanza Sanders were shot at least 5 times. 74-year-old Reverend Daniel Simmons and 70-year-old Ethel Lance were shot at least 6 times. 54-year-old Cynthia Hurd was shot 7 times. 49-year-old DePayne Middleton Doctor and 59-year-old Myra Thompson suffered at least 8 gunshot wounds. And 87-year-old Susie Jackson, the oldest victim, had the most gunshot wounds, at least 10 of them. All in all, the 9 victims were shot a total of at least 60 times. Another survivor of the shooting, Polly Shepard, took the stand next. Polly said that she was working at the church the night of June 17th, and that a quarterly conference was held at 6 p.m. She said she normally leaves after the quarterly conference, but her friend, Myra Thompson, was leading the Bible study that night and had asked her to stay. Polly went through the victims and told the court how she knew each one, while their photos were displayed to the court. Polly told the jury how she had chosen to sit all the way in the back so that she could sneak out, but that Myra kept looking at her so she couldn't leave, which made the people in the courtroom laugh. She said she saw the defendant join them that night, and when they stood to pray towards the end, he started shooting. At first, she thought the sound was an electrical issue, but then she heard Felicia Sanders, the other survivor who testified earlier, scream that he's shooting everybody. Polly said she dove under a table and could hear the gunshots and see the bullet casings as they fell. She told the jury how Dylann walked up to her, told her to shut up, and asked if he had shot her yet. She said Tawanza Sanders got up and asked, "Why are you doing this?" And Dylann responded that he had to, and then shot Tawanza again. Polly said she managed to grab Ethel Lance's cell phone and call 911. Her call was played in court. She told the dispatcher that she was hiding under a table, that he's coming, and to please help her. She described him as a young, 21-year-old white dude. After Polly's testimony, the state then rested. When asked if Dylann wanted to testify, he said no. And then the defense rested, without calling any witnesses or presenting any evidence. The prosecution started their closing arguments by saying that the church should be a place of safety, saying that hatred had no place in that sanctuary, but hatred came to those tables just the same. The prosecutor told the jury that Dylann sat at that table and had waited until the Bible study members were at their most vulnerable. He said 87-year-old Susie Jackson, who walks with a cane, was shot the most amount of times, suffering 10 gunshot wounds. The defendant's hatred focused on the most vulnerable, he said. The prosecutor referenced Dylann's journal and website, which he said showed his perceived superiority, agitation, and violence. He referenced one of the lines that stated, "We whites are in fact superior." The prosecutor displayed slides on the screen with portions of the journal on them. He called the writings racist retribution. The prosecutor pointed out that Dylann began scouting the church as early as December 22, 2014, and that he had made that phone call to the church months prior to the shootings. His preparation for these crimes shows the vastness of his hatred, he said. He then displayed more crime scene photos and went over the deaths of each victim. Then he said, "There is no bravery in this defendant. There is no bravery in his actions. But there is bravery in this case." He told the jury that Reverend Daniel Simmons had run into the gunfire, that Felicia Sanders put herself through her granddaughter and the bullets, and that Tawanza Sanders distracted Dylann and saved lives. In contrast, Dylann's actions showed his cowardice and racial fears. Another graphic crime scene photo was shown. In this one, 26-year-old Tawanza Sanders could be seen reaching out to 87-year-old Susie Jackson, who was his aunt. This photo hadn't been entered into evidence earlier, and there were some audible gasps in the courtroom. That church was a sanctuary because these good people created that sanctuary, the prosecutor said. Defense attorney David Bruck told the jurors in his closing argument that the issue in the case continues to be why. Why did Dylann Roof do this? Why was he motivated? He said the question that needs an answer is why a man in his early 20s felt like he was in a war with another race and needed to murder others before killing himself. He said he didn't get this idea from anyone else that he knew. Instead, he said that every bit of his motivation came from things he saw on the internet. He displayed an image to the jury from a documentary Dylann had downloaded called Skinheads USA. The image shows someone burning an American flag. He then displayed a photo of Dylann Roof holding a burning American flag. He said Dylann was copying images and ideas that he saw online. He said he acknowledges that there wasn't much remorse shown by Dylann. You were looking for remorse and you didn't see very much. I'll be the first to acknowledge it, he said. He said something the jury needs to consider is how isolated Dylann was. He said he had taken hundreds of photos of just himself, never with anyone else. He asked the jurors to look beyond the surface. The jury deliberated for just under 2 hours before finding Dylann guilty on all 33 counts. On January 3rd, 2017, Dylann's sentencing hearing began. The jury would decide whether to sentence Dylann to life in prison without the possibility of parole, or to sentence him to death. As you'll recall, Dylann had requested to represent himself during this phase, so he was. But first, the judge ordered another competency hearing, and once again, Dylann was deemed competent. In order to sentence Dylann to death, the prosecution was presenting the following aggravating factors. The defendant attempted to incite violence. He caused harm to families and friends. He endangered safety of others. The crime was racially motivated. The way he selected his victims, and his lack of remorse. Prosecutor Williams argued that Dylann's actions warranted the death penalty, that Dylann killed 9 people, and he did it because of the color of their skin. He said that about a month and a half after the murders, while Dylann was in custody, writings were discovered in Dylann's jail cell, writings that echoed what he had written in his manifesto, meaning that his feelings hadn't changed on why he did what he did. According to one note, Dylann wrote that he would be sitting in his cell, wishing that he could watch a movie, but would then think about what he did and the reasons behind it. And then I realize it was worth it, he wrote. Williams said he has no remorse for his actions and no remorse for his motives. Dylann got up and spoke to the jury, saying that he isn't going to lie to them, either by himself or through someone else. There's nothing wrong with me psychologically, he said. And then the prosecution presented their witnesses for the sentencing phase. And because there were so many victims who testified about the impact their loved ones had made in their lives, it's impossible for me to go through them all. So for each of the deceased victims, I'll go over one of their witnesses' testimonies. The first witness is Jennifer Pinckney, the wife of 41-year-old Reverend Clementa Pinckney. Jennifer said that Clementa was a family man and that he was very close to his mom. She said he started preaching at a young age and that he was just 18 years old when he got his first church. Clementa eventually became a state senator. She said he was primarily concerned about finding jobs for people, health care, and being a voice for the voiceless. She said they have 2 daughters together, who are 12 and 7, and that he would read to them before they were ever even born. He had nicknames for his girls, Baby Girl and Grasshopper. The court was shown a photo of Clementa asleep on the couch, with his sleeping girls laying against him. Jennifer recalled that they had fallen asleep while he was reading to them, and that she just had to take a picture. She said Clementa wasn't much of a handyman, but that he was proud of what he did. The court was shown a photo of Clementa posing beside an ornament on the wall. Jennifer said the photo was taken because he actually hung something on the wall. Several people in the courtroom laughed. He was the person that I think every mom would be happy that their daughter met, she said. He was that great catch. On the night of the murders, Jennifer and one of her daughters were in the pastor's study while the quarterly conference was taking place in the church. Before Bible study began, Clementa came into the office and turned on a cartoon for his daughter. When she first heard the gunshots, she said it sounded like a generator exploded. She opened the door a crack and realized that what she was hearing were gunshots. She shut the door and locked it. She said her daughter asked her, "Mama, is Daddy going to die?" She said she put her hand over her mouth because she didn't want her to say anything. She didn't want the shooter to hear them. She said she was able to get to her phone and then crawled under the desk with her daughter and called 911. She said when police arrived, an officer took her daughter and told her to keep her eyes closed as she carried her out of the church. Jennifer said she saw blood on the floor and felt sick. She said her husband was so many things to so many people. 59-year-old Myra Thompson's husband, Anthony, testified. He told the court that Myra had a smile that captivated him. A photo from their wedding was displayed to the court, and he said, "That is the best day of my life right there." He recalled that when it was time to say "I do," he couldn't speak because he was crying so hard. He said that Myra told him to man up, which made the courtroom audience laugh. He said he and Myra had plans to get a house in Charlotte to be closer to their grandchildren. "I never thought that she wouldn't be here," he said. Myra's passion was teaching, and Anthony said Myra could teach a bulldog new tricks. He said she went back to school so that she could become a counselor and work one-on-one with students. On the night of the Bible study, Anthony said he didn't walk Myra to the door or kiss her goodbye like he normally did. He said that he was going to go catch part of the Bible study, but then decided to go pick up food and wait for his wife to get home. He got a phone call later that night telling him that he should go to Mother Emanuel because there had been a shooting. When he got there, the police wouldn't let him into the church, and they told him to go to a nearby hotel where everyone was gathering. He saw Polly Shepard and Felicia Sanders, who told him, "Myra's gone." He then went back to the church and got past police before he was eventually stopped. He said his world was gone, and while sobbing on the stand said, "What am I here for? If she's gone, then what am I here for?" The daughter of 45-year-old Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton testified that she is one of 3 children and said that her mother made the Bible interesting for her. She said that every morning on the way to school, she and her brothers had to recite the Lord's Prayer. She said her mother always made her and her friends feel beautiful and that she never had any self-esteem issues. She said her mother made it very clear that she was not her friend, that she was her mother. But she always knew that she could go to her mom for anything. She said her mother called her "my pretty girl." She too started sobbing on the stand and said, "She loved me unconditionally. With her, you knew she loved you." 49-year-old DePayne Middleton doctor's sister Bethane took the stand next. She said DePayne always protected her and their other sister. She said her sister's faith was her calling, and that DePayne had a passion for helping single mothers, taking part in prison ministry, and being active in her church. 2 weeks before DePayne's death, one of her 4 daughters graduated. Bethane said DePayne's 4 daughters usually went to Bible study with her, but that they didn't on the night of June 17th. She said she was getting ready to go into a meeting on June 17th when she saw she had 3 missed calls from DePayne. She said DePayne said she just wanted to say hello and say that she loved her. That was the last time she ever spoke with her sister. At this point in the testimony, Dylann filed a motion, saying that the evidence the prosecution was presenting was too prejudicial. Judge Gergel disagreed and said 9 individuals lost their lives, were entitled into a quick glimpse into their lives. He said that some jurors had indeed cried, but that he would have been stunned if they hadn't. Daniel Simmons, Jr., the son of 74-year-old Reverend Daniel Simmons, was the next witness. He said his father was drafted into the Army during his first 2 years in college and was stationed in Germany. He had an injury to his feet which bothered him throughout his life. He got his master's degree in counseling and used it to counsel veterans. Daniel said his father was forced to retire due to his health, and then he started helping Reverend Pinckney out at Mother Emanuel Church. On the day of the murders, Daniel said he went to lunch with his wife and his father. He said he and his father made plans to go to a car show the following weekend. He learned about the shooting from a cousin who told him to turn the TV on. He did, and the first thing he saw was his father being carried out of the church on a stretcher. He drove from Virginia to Charleston, and while driving, He was almost involved in an accident. He pulled over to the side of the road and was told that his father had died. Malcolm Graham testified next. He is the brother of 54-year-old Cynthia Hurd. He called Cynthia the matriarch of the family and said that since both of his parents had died, Cynthia had taken on that role. He said his sister was personable, sharp, caring, loving, and motherly. Malcolm told the court that Cynthia had encouraged him to continue playing tennis, a sport that he was good at, and as a result, he was able to pay his way through college on a tennis scholarship. He said Cynthia was his role model and that she had been the first one in the family to go to a traditional 4-year college. Malcolm said that Cynthia's absence at family functions is very hard on the family. He then talked about the tributes that were made in honor of Cynthia after her death. She worked at the College of Charleston, and an academic scholarship was named after her. And the University of South Carolina, where she got her master's degree, also put together a scholarship to honor her. And in addition to all of that, the Charleston County Library named a branch after her. 70-year-old Ethel Lance's granddaughter, Naji, testified next. She said her mother passed away in 2013, and so she ended up living with her grandmother, Ethel. She told the court that her family has not gotten together for the holidays since Ethel's death, and she began to cry, saying she misses those holiday gatherings. Naji said her grandmother always insisted that she go to church, even if she was tired. She would tell her, "If you've got enough energy to go to that club and do your dance moves, you've got enough energy to go to church and praise the Lord." She said she was at work when she first heard about the shooting. She met up with her cousins, and they headed over to the church. Police told them to go to an Embassy Suites hotel, and when they arrived there, they saw Polly Shepard, who had Ethel's cell phone. The phone had blood on it. She said the coroner came over and asked them what her grandmother had been wearing. He then said, "I'm sorry," and that's when she knew that her grandmother had died. Walter Jackson Jr. took the stand next, describing himself as 87-year-old Susie Jackson's favorite grandson, which drew laughs from the people in the courtroom. Walter said Mother Emanuel was very important to his grandmother and that she showed them the ropes as far as putting God first in their lives. He said Susie loved to show off her grandchildren and great-grandchildren while at church, and that she had unconditional love. He recalled how one year, instead of throwing his 13-year-old daughter a birthday party, they decided to take a family trip to Myrtle Beach and then surprise Susie in Charleston. A photo of Susie was shown to the jury, and Walter said he loved that photo because she was just so peaceful. Shireen Goss, the sister of 26-year-old Tawanza Sanders, testified next. She said she and her brother were close and spent a lot of time together, joined at the hip. She called Tawanza a social butterfly and said he had a great work ethic, determined to succeed and do whatever it took to get it done. She said she never really saw Tawanza down, that he wasn't one of those people who had a pity party for himself. She said she hates that her new son will never get to meet his uncle in person. One last important witness that I want to briefly go over is Lauren Knapp's testimony. She's a criminal intelligence officer analyst with the Charleston County Sheriff's Office, and she testified about some additional writings that were found in Dylann's cell. One said, "I do not regret what I did. I am not sorry. I have not shed a tear for the innocent people I killed." The jury unanimously decided to sentence Dylann to death. Judge Gergel formally sentenced him, and as he did so, he said, "This trial has produced no winners, only losers." In April 2017, Dylann avoided the death penalty in his state trial by pleading guilty to the killings in state court. Due to his plea, he will spend 9 consecutive life sentences in prison, plus 90 years. So in short, even if the death penalty from his federal conviction is never implemented, he will surely never walk among us again. Dylann is appealing his federal conviction. And as I was wrapping up my research into this case, I decided to check for any last-minute news about the case that had come in over the last couple days. And I did find something. Something positive, something hopeful. Chris Singleton, the son of Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, was just drafted from Charleston Southern University to the Chicago Cubs, nearly 2 years after his mother was killed at Mother Emanuel. And that's all for today's episode. To discuss this case and any others, please consider joining our Facebook discussion group at courtjunkie.com/Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter at courtjunkiepod, on Instagram at courtjunkie, and you can email me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. To support this podcast, you can donate as little as $1 a month and get access to early, ad-free episodes. Just go to courtjunkie.com/support. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.
This podcast is sponsored by Pocket Hose.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn. Homeowners, listen up. Before Pocket Hose, garden hoses were heavy, bulky, hard to carry, and always kinking. Then Pocket Hose changed all that. It's the American invention that made watering lighter, easier, and smarter. And now, the world's #1 expanding hose has gone ballistic. Turn on the water and watch it grow from a compact hose into a full-length, powerful hose. Turn off the water and it shrinks right back down, making it easy to carry and easy to store. But now it's even better. With a tough ballistic-infused outer sleeve, a pocket pivot that helps reduce kinks at the spigot, thicker washers to help resist leaks, and UV protection to fight sun damage. And for a limited time, you'll get 2 free gifts, a 360-degree pocket pivot and a thumb drive nozzle. Just go to pockethose.com/podcast. That's pockethose.com/podcast for your 2 free gifts with purchase. pockethose.com/PODCAST.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.